this was a generation with unparalleled commitment to this country, unparalleled pride in being British, unparalleled commitment to hard work and contributing to society. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Conference. It's great to be back in Liverpool. This party is now the largest social democratic party in Europe, and we are still growing. I'm still here. Jeremy Corbyn is. And Jeremy Corbyn is emphatically still here as leader of the Labour Party. We are here to discuss the safety and security of the whole country. And this, like so many social issues, is a collective endeavour. It cannot be done individually. You are not safe, it's your neighbour isn't safe, and we know who suffers most from crime. It's the most vulnerable, women, the elderly, children, all of our ethnic minority communities, the LGBTQ community, and disabled people. So it has always been wrong to say that law and order is somehow a Tory issue. Fighting crime and upholding the law are key issues for our communities and are therefore key issues for Labour. The truth is that the Tories are all talk when it comes to law and order. In fact, they've cut over 20,000 police officers. Support staff have been decimated, and we can all see the consequences in our community. Response times to 999 calls are increasing. Violent crime is increasing, but arrests are falling. Government cuts, Tory austerity, has damaged our public services. All Tory cuts have consequences, and their police cuts also have consequences. You cannot keep people safe on the cheap. In Labour's 2017 manifesto, the brilliant 2017 manifesto, we said we would add 10,000 police officers. We will focus on rebuilding community policing because community police are the front line against crime, including terrorism. We also intend to recruit more fire officers, more border guards. The next manifesto is not yet written, but obviously I'll be having friendly chats with the Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell about the money available for Home Affairs and Security, but I'm sure that we're all agreed where we want the money available to recruit police and fire officers and border guards to go. But on a serious note, the tragic fire at Grenfell reminds us all of the courage of our firefighters. But this government refuses to accept that their cuts to fire services cause longer response times. They refuse to accept that privatisation and deregulation led inevitably to disasters like Grenfell. More than a year later, they have not produced a single initiative that would prevent a repeat of Grenfell. That is how much they care. This government is failing to protect communities or to ensure their safety. This government is big on rhetoric about security, policing and borders, but talk is cheap. Action costs money. They've slashed the border guards just as they slashed the police and fire services. Not Labour. It wasn't Labour that slashed the border guards. It was the Tories that made those cuts. Real border security to stop drug trafficking, sex traffickers, gangsters and terrorists, that is what the Labour Party stands for. But false and toxic rhetoric on protecting our borders and on immigration led directly to the Windrush scandal. Can you imagine living in a country which indefinitely detains its own citizens, which deports them, which refuses them cancer treatment, even when they've lived in the country all their adult lives? Well, under this government, we saw this happen to the Windrush generation. This was my parents' generation, and I know full well that this was a generation that came to help rebuild this country after the war, and the Tories treated them like this. This was a generation who was so proud to be British, which makes the way they were treated even more shameful. So we've had Theresa May with her go-home vans. She was the Home Secretary who announced that she would deport first, appeal later. And the entire Tory party and the Lib Dems voted for the 2014 Immigration Act, which implemented their hostile environment. They are responsible for Windrush. And it's no use the current Home Secretary Sajid Javid trying to evade responsibility. He claims to have ended the hostile environment. That is untrue. Last Friday, he sneaked out an announcement showing that they are still treating the Windrush generation as second-class citizens. We will not rest until there is justice for the Windrush generation. We will not rest until the hostile environment is ended, until Yards Wood and Brook House detention centres are closed. And we won't rest until this Prime Minister and this government is gone. Recently, I set out Labour's new immigration policy. It's based on Labour values and the needs of the society. It is not based on demonising migrants. We will always uphold our legal and moral obligations to Commonwealth citizens. We will not use the 3 million EU citizens currently resident here as bargaining chips. We will uphold their rights and the rights of British citizens resident in Europe. We'll be striking deals with the EU and other countries. These trade deals can benefit us all. Migration may well be part of those deals, and the immigration that I have set out fits into that, not the other way around. What we won't be doing is having bogus numerical targets for immigrants. The Home Affairs Select Committee, the Migration Advisory Committee, and a former Home Office Permanent Secretary have all said that these bogus numerical targets do not work. I think the only person that still believes in them is Theresa May. Instead of bogus targets and demonising migrants, we will have clear criteria. After the Brexit deal, after the trade deals, we may still have key skills gaps, such as the shortages of doctors and nurses and social care workers. So first of all, we'll increase training and education and apprenticeships for people here and insist that companies do the same. We will drive up wages by enforcing the national minimum wage, and we will increase employee rights and clamp down on exploitation. But we can't expect increased training to plug the shortage of workers like doctors and social care workers in the short term. We will need some migrant workers. But conference, we should always remember that immigrants don't drive down wages. It's predatory employers weaken trade union rights and freedoms, and an austerity government. That is what has driven down wages. And once people are here, we will treat our brothers and sisters from overseas fairly and equally. That is Labour's new immigration policy. But I can't go without reminding this audience here in Liverpool that Labour is committed to releasing all the papers in relation to the 37 Camel Laird shipyard workers and the Shrewsbury 24 trials. We will provide full disclosure. We want justice, and we'll have open inquiries into Orgreave and into the blacklisting and inquiries into the blacklisting of trade unionists. When workers are engaged in legitimate disputes, they need to be safe and secure from intimidation, from threats, and from media frame-ups. Now, most of you will have heard of the spy cop scandal. We know that in this country, you generally need a warrant to enter someone's home or intercept their telephone calls. So a Labour government will insist on time-limited judicial warrants for any undercover policing. And I couldn't let my conference speech end without thanking my fantastic Shadow Home Affairs team, Nick Thomas-Simmons, Afsal Khan, Karen Lee, Louise Haig, and Eleanor Smith. They have been brilliant. They are formidable in holding the Tories to account and will be formidable in government. But I also want to thank all of you who've supported our party, supported me, and supported the leader, Jeremy Corbyn, through thick and thin. This country has never needed a Labour government more. We will have to repair the ravages of the Tory years. This country needs a Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour government. And as one of our former leaders, the great John Smith, said, the chance to serve is all we ask. Thank you, Conference.